almost 4 years ago, we took a leap of faith and packed up our entire family,
including our 2-week-old baby, and moved to a place where we knew pretty much no one.
After living in Boise, Idaho now, in this beautiful gem state, we've definitely learned some things, and there were a few surprises that we didn't necessarily expect. So in today's video, we're going to be sharing the good, the bad, and the ugly, what we love about Idaho, and what we don't necessarily like so much.
We hope this video helps to clarify things and help you make an informed decision on whether Idaho is the right place for you.
And if we haven't met before, my name is Craig Flood. I make videos each week about Idaho, what it's like to live here, eat here, sleep here, play here, and buy real estate here. I'm also a licensed real estate agent with a great team, and we help people just like you buy, sell, relocate, and invest in real estate here in the great state of Idaho. For starters, my wife and I and our family, like we mentioned, we moved here from Oregon almost 4 years ago now.
Honestly, it was a decision we'd been thinking about for years, even when Portland was still
I think 5 years.
Probably.
We were thinking about Maui for sunshine and friends.
Bend for sunshine.
Bend, Oregon. And we also looked at Spokane, Washington. Let's keep going back. Why did we feel the need to leave Portland?
And house prices were just too much for us. To sell our home and be able to upgrade to anything bigger just was putting us into areas of Portland we didn't want to live.
We were really looking at other places to go, and it just didn't feel quite right, and I didn't want to force something. As you watch videos that you're thinking, you're trying to envision what your life would be like, and you're like, do I really want that? And it just wasn't, it just felt like it wasn't fitting. And then Boise hit our radar. We moved sight unseen.
Yeah.
I can't believe I didn't do a scouting trip.
Lots of YouTube videos.
Yeah, lots of YouTube videos. Super helpful. I'm like, I think I know that city, and I think it's a good fit. And if we're wrong, we can just move back.
It was probably 6 weeks tops before we were like literally had a house lined up here to rent. I was like 38 weeks pregnant. We're talking about this, and I just had zero emotional capacity to think through any of this. Like, you figure this out. I'll go where you go. I can't think about this right now.
I talked to a lot of you guys on the phone. There's a lot of moving parts with the relocation, jobs, getting a home sold, finding a home, deciding if you actually want to move to that city, whatever it is. There's so many things. And the whole time we're wondering, was this the right decision? Is it going to pan out? Come on, guys. I remember driving into Eagle, and you're like, so this is Eagle.
Oh my gosh, it felt like coming to the promised land. We get here, and we land at this rental house, and this massive park, which was walking distance from us, with this hugest playground my kids had ever seen in their lives that was open to play on.
Clean, no homeless, no needles. You felt safe.
It was literally night and day.
Yeah.
It was unbelievable.
In the true sense of the word, you could say it felt like a breath of fresh air.
It did.
That kind of sums up our journey of leaving, what it was like. I was in the trenches. I know what you guys are going through to some degree. We went through it too. It was tough. It was hard, but it was totally worth it for the lifestyle that we now have on the day-to-day. So let's jump into some just like pros and cons that you have.
I mean, the first thing that came to mind, just with Idaho in general, because so many people are moving here, it's actually been a real big plus for us. Partly just the communities that we've landed in. It's a ton of transplants. And the pro to that is that everyone's looking for friends.
Yes.
So it's just been really easy to make friends with people because everyone's new and everybody wants friends. And we ended up landing in a real small school for our kids where, I mean, I'd say 98% of people are not from Idaho and moved here within the last 3 years. It's been easy to build community because everybody wants it and everybody's looking for it. And you're not trying to break into circles where people have been friends for 30 years.
I mean, we just had some random people move for work, and we just hit it off with them. I'm like, yeah, that's what it's like when you move somewhere. You just don't have any relationships, and they have kids, and their kids don't have friends. Like, I remember, like, it's not easy moving. You could be moving away from family. Your kids could be moving away from the only friends they've ever had. So there's a lot that goes along with that. So that is nice that if you move here, it's not like you're the one outlier. Depending on where you move, a majority of your neighborhood could be made up of people just like you.
Yeah.
So
I'm sure that has downsides, but for us, it has felt like a lot of pros.
Yeah. I'll do a pro. One reason that I really like Boise is because it had a larger city than some other places in Idaho. And I just love being close to amenities and opportunity and entertainment. I often mention this, but Oregon Shakespeare Festival, not Oregon, we're from Oregon. That's a good one to go see. The Idaho Shakespeare Festival is here. You have shops, you have good dining. It's really cool that it's the Capitol building. We actually did a date morning and actually went into the Capitol building for the first time, which is really fun. Yeah.
Really cool. Yeah.
So the city's really nice. And then another one that I'll just attach onto that is that coming from Portland, and that's what we knew for like the last decade, is Boise's an insanely clean city to the point to where if you're not used to a clean city, you're slightly shocked. You almost feel like it's a Truman Show.
Truman, did you see this?
We're like putting up fake scenery to hide the homelessness. It's not existent here to the degree that it is in places like Seattle, Cali, Portland, Oregon, things like that.
With that said, I've seen it starting to shift a bit in the 3 years, almost 4 years that we've been here.
Yeah.
When we first moved here, we had like made some little homeless packs, the kids and I, that had
socks
hand
and
warmers,
Ziploc bags, yeah.
gift cards to a grocery store and things like that. And so we had some left in our car. And so we got here and my daughter was like, Mom, can we find some people to give these to? It's like, yeah, let's go drive downtown. We couldn't find anybody, not a single person to give them to. And it was strange. But in the last 4 years, it's ticked up a bit. There's no homeless camps. You're not seeing tents everywhere. But I see more people on street corners that I hadn't seen at first. As in maybe 5 to 10 total in the city that I've noticed. But that is more than it was in the last 4 years ago. So it is something to keep an eye on.
Yeah. What's another pro for you?
I just have noticed the difference in our families, just the activities that we do, like how much we're outside here versus we just weren't where we came from. So the fact that we're biking all over the city, we're down at the river all the time, or we're doing walks by, along the green belt, or we're biking to ice cream, or we're hiking up Table Rock or up Camel's Back, or it's a lifestyle that we didn't have before because...
Not to mention the river.
Yeah, like the kids are playing in the river all summer while you're fishing, and it's something that wasn't close to us. It wasn't as accessible to us before, and that's been a game changer for our summers, especially. It's so fun. It just feels like there's always opportunity to get out and do something outdoors with the kids, and I love that because I feel like we didn't have that where we were. We had to drive, so it had to be a very...
It was just far away.
And so then, drive somewhere else. And that's very different than my experience growing up. I grew up in Moscow, and you're not doing those things there either because there's just not
far.
Right. You're doing other things, but you're not doing a lot of hiking and playing outside. And I've loved that. I've loved that for our kids and for our family.
Yeah. To add to that, a big thing for me, Oregon is beautiful. Like the state is beautiful. There's tons of beautiful places in it, but depending on where you live, you just have to go some distance to actually get to them. So then you're talking about giving up a weekend, and it's a weekend trip. Whereas here, something that's amazing about the city of Boise is that it has the Boise River cutting through town. But it's got the foothills, and the foothills are butted up right against the city. So like right now, if I were to leave my office, I could be to the foothills in 4 to 5 minutes. I could be out and about. And so that was a big thing of just in terms of lifestyle, to get these things closer just means you can do them more frequently. It's more a part of your life, which could have a drastic impact on your health, your activity levels, like all these things that you start to think about as you get older and you're not 20 anymore. Mm-hmm. So,
and I will say, even if Portland had those things close, it rains like 8 months out of the year in Portland. Wow. So you don't want to be out in it.
Portland does have a river that you don't want to go in. Portland does have parks that aren't friendly to families. So
that leads into another pro of just the weather here is so much better. It is sunnier. It is significantly drier than where we came from. Yeah. And I recognize that for a lot of you who are moving from other places.
California.
Yeah. Maybe this is not an upgrade. For us, it was a massive upgrade. For our friends who moved here from San Diego, it was hard. It was hard to give up what they gave up.
It was a hit on lifestyle.
It was hard for them, but it was way better for us.
Yeah, if you're coming from somewhere if you're coming from Cali, I know the reasons you're coming. You're not coming here for the weather, though you could want 4 seasons. You could be coming for that, but everybody knows Cali has phenomenal weather and the ocean's great. And I love hopping on a plane. That's a pro for me. Boise has a good airport. So, and I talk about this in relation when I was thinking about other cities to move to, whether they were in Idaho Spokane or Bend, it's like I wanted a city where we weren't isolated and it wasn't hard for people to get to us.
Yeah.
Family, friends, or if I need to go fly somewhere for work or whatever it might be, it's nice to have an airport really close. And I'll say this airport is great. We live on the bench, so we're between the city and the airport. And my record for getting out of bed and sitting down on my airplane is 20 minutes. So that's like getting up, calling an Uber, packing, walking through security. I do have TSA pre-check. And then sitting down on the plane was 20 minutes. And I don't encourage people to do that. I'm just saying I did it, which should tell you something about the airport. Hey friends, I just wanted to pause for a moment. If you're thinking about buying or selling, or if you're serious about getting relocated here to Idaho, then be sure to reach out. Me and my team would love to assist you in that transition. Down below is my contact information. You can call, text, or email days, nights, or weekends, and we would be happy to help.
Like, things are less expensive here. Utilities are a whole lot cheaper here. We significantly increased our square footage, and we're paying less for water, less for electric, all those. So it's nice.
Yeah.
It's not something that would like be the thing to make you move, but it's a nice perk.
Yeah, it's good to know about the prices. I know some places, I know a family, they moved to Florida, and there were certain costs that just almost doubled for them in certain areas. A lot of you I talked to who are in California tell me about fire insurance, how much you're paying for fire insurance, how shocked you are by how much you're paying for things like car registration, just food, taxes, all these things, and how it just feels like the number keeps growing.
The other one is just more sunlight in the winter. And this is actually the big surprise for me, because I did grow up in Idaho, so I didn't expect this to be different. But Idaho's time zone, it's basically a line through the middle of the state. So in Moscow right now, it's an hour behind where we are here in Boise. And so the difference that makes is we are significantly farther west compared to where the time zone line is. So for us, it just stays light a lot later in the evenings through the winter. Like, growing up in Moscow, it was dark by 4 o'clock in the peak of winter. And that's tough because you leave for school, leave for work in the dark, you come home in the dark, and that's hard to get through. But here, it never got dark later or earlier than 5 p.m. So at least the kids can come home from school and have a bit of sunlight to play in before it gets dark. And I hadn't expected that, and I love it. It's been amazing.
Yeah. And in the summertime, it stays light longer.
Which actually I feel like is a bit of a con.
A little bit. It just feels like it really drags. Like, if your kids ever want to sleep outside, say in the trampoline, it's like, well, it's not going to get dark until like you
really
guys, you're never going to fall asleep.
11 p.m. Like, we just can't do it.
Like, for you to be awake when the stars finally come out, it's like, I need you to fall asleep before that. We still have young kids. Okay, now let's talk about cons. This one was a little challenging, but let's go ahead and talk about them. Do you want to kick it off? Why? Well, first let's say this. When you think about cons, I mean, things come to mind like, are there natural disasters? Are there bugs that are going to be a nuisance? What's the weather like? Is a tornado going to come through? Are animals going to try to eat me? Like, some of the big ones.
There's
which is funny when you think about this. Like, I was just watching some stuff on Florida, and it's just like, man, I just don't know if I could live next to crocodiles or alligators. I don't know which one they are. What is it?
Hurricanes.
Or yeah, all that stuff, and you're like, gosh, that looks great, but then you got to say, yeah, I'm up for the cons too. The funny thing is, when I think about Boise, and well, let's say specifically Boise, there's just not a ton of cons in that arena. Which is really nice. Yeah, natural disaster, bugs. It's like maybe you'll get some mosquitoes somewhere, but it's not like we have cockroaches running around. It's not like
we usually get wildfire smoke in August, but compared to where we came from, it's significantly less. So it just feels like it doesn't hardly register on the radar.
Yeah, like I went camping with Levi, my son. We did rafting down the Deschutes River, the Payette. And I remember a smoke happened, so everything was a bit hazy, but that's just not the norm that we experience here at all. So cons. What do you got for cons? Oh, late summer nights.
I mean, like that was my big.
That was one of the cons.
Well, it's hard to put the kids.
It was kind of we were kind of not expecting it.
Right.
You just we knew Boise was Mountain Standard Time.
I didn't think so.
But you didn't connect the dots of like, oh, that just means it's going to get light.
Yeah. So it's a major pro in the winter, but I think it's a con in the summer because it just with Yeah, it's just hard. It's hard to get to bed on time when it's still, I mean, I think the latest the sun sets is like 10:15 in the summer, but then you still have like dusky light until 11. It's just weird.
It is weird. So get blackout shades. Get blackout shades, and for your kids, for you, if you got kids, for your dogs. One of the cons I said was just heat in summer. So like right now we're moving in springtime. It is lovely. Just the other day we were out walking around in t-shirts. I had shorts on. I wore my chacos for the first time this season. It's, the day when you're like, oh, I finally pulled shorts out. But then I know what's coming. It's going to be hot this summer.
Yeah. June's usually nice. We did have that one year where it was over 100 for like 20 days straight in June. And that's not normal, but that was rough. But it is consistently in the hundreds in August. And that's just really hot.
Yeah. I mean, it's classic. The pros of it is you have the Boise River, and the con of the Boise River is that the Boise River can be really cold. It comes out. It comes out at the base of a dam, so it's pulling all the cold water from the bottom of the dam, so it doesn't really have time to warm up. It can only warm up in the process of going down. It doesn't warm up that much. So other rivers that maybe aren't dammed so close can be a little bit more pleasant, but it's like you're really hot, but you're like, but it's not like you want to jump full body into the river. You can, but it's still, you're like, it bites.
One other con for us is just we didn't move any closer to family, and so that I imagine for a lot of people it's probably similar. You're leaving family, and it's been fine, but do I wish Boise had got us closer to grandparents? Yes, I do.
Yeah. I would say, and this is a personal one for us, but I know a lot of people when you're relocating, you're moving away from somebody, or maybe you're moving closer to somebody. But I'll just say some notes on that. I've had multiple conversations where I'm talking with somebody and I'm talking additionally too with their parents. So it'll be like a group call. And so what I'm saying is I do see a couple things happen where families and siblings will move at the same time because they're all kind of over something, over California or over the heat in Arizona or whatever it is. They'll move like that. Or what I've just seen over time is somebody will move first, and then family will come to visit, or maybe the parents move and then the kids come to visit, and then all of a sudden they get to start experiencing the place, and then all of a sudden they're like, wow, and then give it 1, 2, 3 years, and then they move too. I mean, we were the first ones who really moved here, and I'm still hopeful that we might rope somebody in with us, because like even when my dad's come here, my dad worked at Boeing, just retired. And there was another guy he used to work with who retired and moved out here. And when he came to visit us, he went and visited his friend. And you can see his brain turning a little bit, just like contemplating, oh, why did you move here? Wow, I really like this place. Wow, that river's great.
He's always looking up the weather when it's miserable. Seattle area. And he's like, it looks like it's sunny in Boise.
Yeah, it's like it's not hard to make something look that much better than Seattle. Horrible traffic in Seattle. Dreary, long winters. He hates them just as much as I did. So that can happen too. If you do make the move, just know, I'm not saying it's going to happen, but just know it's a possibility, and I've seen it happen, where then family follows suit. Yeah. Another con that I'll say is, so for us, my family's still in Seattle. My wife's is up north in Moscow, Idaho. In the winter times, like the grandparents want to see the grandkids, and so we're always thinking, how do we go see them? One thing I don't look forward to is having to travel in the wintertime. Yeah. No. Right? Even if it's from here to Seattle or from here to Moscow, Idaho is really surrounded by, especially if you're heading north up Idaho, it's really some treacherous terrain. The other day, Nicole and I went and did a snowmobiling trip up in McCall, Idaho, just to kind of show you guys things you can do in the wintertime and what activities and what your lifestyle might be like. And even on that drive, there's one specific horrible spot on that drive. We saw 3 cars kind of broken down, not sure what was happening. One was over an edge, and every time you're like, gosh, if we crash, we kill everybody, like us. And like the grandparents are just like, oh my gosh, in one fell swoop, they just lost a whole family of 6. So anyway, it's things you think about and you just deal with it. You pick good weather, you get the right snow tires on. So
another con I can think of, Boise is a bit sprawling, as in the Treasure Valley in general is a bit sprawling. It could be that it doesn't affect your life at all because maybe everything is in a very small, area around where you live.
School, lifestyle.
Yes, which it was for us for a little bit of time. And then
because we homeschooled.
We did. And now we have our kids at a school that we love that we drive 25 minutes for, which is kind of
so 25 there, 25 back, 25 there, 25 back. So you're talking about almost 2 hours of driving a day.
There's not a lot of, I'm never fighting traffic to get there, which is great. But, for the fact that you could constantly have things on the other side of the valley. It's a lot of driving. So you can build your life to where all your community and everything is in one particular area where you live, and that's awesome. And we kind of wish we had done that.
Well, I just got a text, and he asked me, he said, hey, I saw your YouTube videos of the living like in Boise, Nampa, Meridian, and other series, and you mentioned helping with the scouting trip. So I just want to talk about scouting trips for a second. A big way that we help you in the relocation process is helping you plan those scouting trips. The scouting trips are a big deal. We can really help you narrow things down. You can really only learn so much from YouTube. Even though I didn't do a scouting trip, I highly, highly recommend it. That's a big thing that we do. So if you enjoyed this video, go ahead and leave a comment if you have a question. And if you want to see another helpful video, go ahead and click on that link right there. I'm sure it'll be really helpful. And with that being said, we will see you guys in the next video.